He was special simply because my parents decided he was. The golden child, their firstborn, the son who mattered. When Edwin scored the winning touchdown at his high school football game, my parents threw him a party that cost more than they'd spent on all my birthdays combined. I was 14 then, and I spent the night serving drinks to Edwin's friends while my brother held court in our living room, basking in adoration. That's what a real man looks like. My father whispered to me as he watched Edwin surrounded by cheerleaders. "You could learn something from your brother if you'd stop being so sensitive." Why would I want to learn how to be a jerk? Oh, stop being so jealous. No one likes a whiny boy who is jealous of his brother. Can't you ever not be so negative? I didn't want to be like Edwin. I wanted to be seen for who I was. But in our household, there was only room for one son. At least as far as my parents were concerned. One of the worst episodes, though, was when I came down with strep throat. I had a really terrible fever. It was so bad that I began to have hallucinations. I begged my parents to take me to the hospital, but they were too concerned about keeping me away from Edwin so that he wouldn't get sick, and so they went on vacation and only returned once I had fully recovered. Growing up in the shadow of my brother Edwin was like living life permanently eclipsed. My name is Freddie, and for as long as I can remember, I was the forgotten son. It always felt like I was playing second fiddle to him. On my 7th birthday, my parents forgot to buy me a cake because they were busy preparing for Edwin's baseball game the following weekend. When I brought home straight A's in the 4th grade, my father grunted without looking up from Edwin's B- essay that he was helping improve. My mother didn't even acknowledge my report card. Whenever I would complain how things weren't fair and that he got more attention than I did, they would always say the same thing. "It's not fair. You guys never pay attention to me. It's like you don't even love me."
Oh, stop whining, Freddie. No one wants to hear that. It's just that Edwin needs extra attention. He's special. You would understand if you knew better.
Yeah, Freddie. It's the way it is. You don't really need that much attention. It's not like you are going to be doing much with your life. Special. That word haunted my childhood. Edwin wasn't special because he was more intelligent or talented. He was special simply because my parents decided he was. The golden child, their firstborn, the son who mattered. When Edwin scored the winning touchdown at his high school football game, my parents threw him a party that cost more than they'd spent on all my birthdays combined. I was 14 then, and I spent the night serving drinks to Edwin's friends while my brother held court in our living room, basking in adoration. That's what a real man looks like. My father whispered to me as he watched Edwin surrounded by cheerleaders. "You could learn something from your brother if you'd stop being so sensitive." Why would I want to learn how to be a jerk? Oh, stop being so jealous. No one likes a whiny boy who is jealous of his brother. Can't you ever not be so negative? I didn't want to be like Edwin. I wanted to be seen for who I was. But in our household, there was only room for one son. At least as far as my parents were concerned. One of the worst episodes, though, was when I came down with strep throat. I had a really terrible fever. It was so bad that I began to have hallucinations. I begged my parents to take me to the hospital, but they were too concerned about keeping me away from Edwin so that he wouldn't get sick, and so they went on vacation and only returned once I had fully recovered. I'm amazed that I didn't pass away. But the breaking point didn't come until high school ends. The night I graduated high school with honors, Edwin crashed his car after drinking at a party. I stood alone on the stage, scanning the audience for familiar faces that weren't there. My parents had rushed to the hospital to be with Edwin, who had a minor concussion and a scratch on his forehead. They didn't even call to tell me they weren't coming. When I arrived home still wearing my graduation gown, my mother was crying in the kitchen. "Where were you guys? You missed my entire graduation."
Your brother could have died, and all you care about is some silly ceremony.
It's not some silly ceremony. I graduated high school. It's kind of a big deal. We had far more important things to be concerned with, Freddie. We simply do not care about some dumb ceremony. It's not like you got an award or anything. I did graduate with honors.
That's nice, dear.
They didn't care. I knew they wouldn't, but it still hurt. That was the moment I decided I was done. I packed my bags that night and left before dawn. I didn't leave a note. I wanted to see how long it would take them to notice I was gone. 3 weeks later, my roommate at the small apartment I'd rented answered a call from my mother.
Is Freddie there? Edwin's birthday dinner is tonight, and I need him to pick up the cake.
Not, where have you been? Or, we've been worried sick? Just an errand for Edwin's birthday. My roommate told her I'd moved out weeks ago. She hung up without asking where I'd gone. I thanked him for covering for me. I put myself through design school by working 3 jobs. I slept 4 hours a night and survived on ramen and ambition. By my 2nd year, I designed a line of affordable, stylish menswear that caught the attention of a small manufacturer. That first round of exposure blew up, and the amount of sales that those designs made allowed me to be able to quit all my part-time jobs. By graduation, I had made enough money that I was able to buy my first factory and a modest but growing brand. 10 years passed without a word from my family. In that time, I built Frederick Apparel into an empire. My clothes were known for their quality, style, and ethical manufacturing practices. I owned 17 factories across Asia and South America, employed thousands, and was featured in every major fashion magazine. My face was on billboards in Times Square and Shibuya Crossing. And then, predictably, they found me. The call came through my assistant.
There are people on the phone that claim to be your parents. They are insisting on speaking with you.
You've got to be kidding me. Put them through.
Freddie, is that you? We saw you in a magazine. Why didn't you tell us you'd become famous?
No hello. No apology. No acknowledgement of 10 years of silence. What do you want?
That's no way to speak to your mother. We raised you better than that.
You didn't raise me at all. I was practically self-raised. There was a pause, and then my mother's voice softened into the tone she used when she wanted something.
We're so proud of you, Freddie. We always knew you had potential.
Cut the crap. What do you want? Edwin needs help. Of course. It always came back to Edwin. Apparently, my brother had bounced from job to job for years. He'd tried acting, sales, and most recently, motivational speaking. All failures. Now, upon seeing my success in fashion, Edwin had decided that he, too, had always had a passion for clothing design.
He has such vision. He just needs an opportunity.
And financial backing. And your connections, of course. I should have hung up. I should have blocked their numbers and gone back to my life. But something dark and long suppressed stirred inside me. You know, I'm actually expanding the business, opening a new factory.
That's wonderful.
I could use someone like Edwin, someone with vision. My parents were ecstatic. When I suggested a meeting, they insisted that Edwin join. And so, a week later, I found myself sitting across from the family that had forgotten me, watching them salivate over the opportunity I dangled before them. Edwin had grown pudgy and balding, but his smile still carried that entitled confidence I remembered. So, little brother, finally realized you need some real talent in your company? Something like that. I laid out my proposition. I told them that I was opening an exclusive new factory in North Korea. It was unprecedented. An American fashion company operating in the reclusive kingdom. The potential for profit was enormous, but it required extreme discretion. Why North Korea? Labor costs, tax advantages, and exclusivity. No other Western fashion brand has access. Plus, I've convinced them that it would do wonders for American and North Korean relations. And you want me to run it? I want you to be the face of it, the Frederick brand in Asia, starting with our most exclusive operation.
It sounds dangerous.
It requires connections, I'll admit. But I've been negotiating with a high-ranking official there, General Park Min-ho. He's arranging everything. In reality, General Park had been publicly executed for treason 3 months earlier. I knew this because I'd researched it meticulously. Not many people would know that, though, but I had used some of my connections to learn of this, as it made my plan possible. I'll need you to go first. Meet with General Park. Establish the relationship. I'll follow with the technical team once you've secured his trust. Why can't you go first? Because General Park specifically requested to meet the founder's family before proceeding. It's a cultural thing. They value family enterprises. If you're not comfortable with it, I understand. I can find another opportunity for Edwin. No, I want this. We'll go. My parents nodded in agreement, their eyes gleaming with the prospect of Edwin's success and the wealth that would follow. I spent the next month preparing them. I created fake documents, arranged their flights, and coached them on what to say when they arrived. I told them to immediately ask for General Park Min-ho as they were very good friends with him, and to mention they were there for the Dragon Pearl Project, a name I invented that sounded suitably clandestine. I told them that they needed to say that they had been working with him for a long time. Remember, North Korea is extremely sensitive about security. Stick to the script exactly. The day they left, I drove them to the airport. My mother hugged me for the first time in decades.
I always knew you'd take care of your brother. Deep down, you've always looked up to him and knew that he was special.
I smiled and waved as they passed through security, carrying their one-way tickets to Pyongyang. 3 days later, I received confirmation that they had been arrested upon arrival. Demanding to meet with a disgraced, executed general while mentioning a non-existent secret project had exactly the effect I anticipated. They were detained as spies. While the trial was ongoing, I heard rumors from a friend who lives in South Korea that my family was helping the regime by appearing in propaganda videos on social media, in English. I also heard that my brother was being trained as a traffic controller, in case he's ever allowed to live freely again. I did feel guilt, a brief, sharp pang when I imagined their confusion and fear. But then I remembered my graduation night, standing alone on that stage. I remembered every birthday forgotten, every achievement ignored. Every day I was made to feel worthless while Edwin was treated like royalty. 6 months later, after various diplomatic channels confirmed what I already knew, that they had been tried as spies and executed, I opened a champagne bottle in my penthouse overlooking Central Park. I toasted the empty room, watching the city lights twinkle below. I sometimes wonder if I'm a monster for what I did. Perhaps. But my parents and Edwin taught me an important lesson growing up. Some people matter, and some don't. They just never imagined they'd end up on the wrong side of that equation. My newest fashion line launched last week. The critics are calling it my best work yet. Hauntingly beautiful, one reviewer wrote. If only they knew how apt that description truly was. The guilt fades a little more each day. After all, they made my life a living hell. And now, I use their greed to help speed their way towards being sent to actual hell. Funny how things work out. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.